on to our regularly scheduled city commission meeting. Our first order of business, we're all going to stand and do the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's consider the minutes of the July 25, 2023 meeting.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item number 2, we're going to consider a cereal malt beverage license for Back Alley Pizza LLC for on-premises sales. Denise?
Yes, we have received this application from Back Alley Pizza for a CMB license that they would be selling over there at their location on West 5th Street. They have met all of the requirements from the state and local requirements that we have, and I would recommend approval of that license.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Item number 3, we're going to consider a cereal malt beverage license for the Cajun Crab for on-sales premise. Denise?
Yes, this is a new restaurant that is in town, and they have applied for their CMB license as well, and they have met all the requirements that we have, and I would recommend that you go ahead and approve this. And I just would give you a heads up that these licenses, after approval, we'll sign them tonight, and they can start selling tomorrow right away.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the cereal malt beverage license for Cajun Crab.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Item 4, we're going to consider a school resource officer agreement with Newton Unified School District 373.
I can
Briggs.
take this one, sure. You saw this item originally back in June at your June 27th meeting. This is an agreement regarding SRO, school resource officers that are NPD officers that are assigned to schools in the Newton Unified District. There was concern from the bench about the fairness, the adequacy of the compensation, directed staff to go back to discuss with staff. We've done that. We've now brought the agreement back to you with an increase to the annual payment. It's now at $130,000. We did add a provision that should one of the SROs have like a significant absence, that the school district could get a credit back for a certain number of those days. The rest of the terms, the substantive terms, remain unchanged in terms of they remain Newton employees and under the supervision of the chief. If that increase in the compensation is adequate, then we would recommend approval. If you have any questions, myself, chief, staff would stand for them.
I just want to comment that I'm glad to see the school board came back with more, and so I would make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
I believe they're set to consider it next week, I believe, and that's a staff recommendation on the new number.
Okay, item 5, we're going to review the governing body handbook. Rebecca?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. So what you've been given this past agenda packet is a first draft that we're looking for just some review and feedback. Staff has been working internally for almost a year now to discuss things that we can do to make the positions that you hold a little easier to understand and clarify some things. Currently, there's no similar document or policy that we have here on file. So this has been based off of what the league publishes, the governing body handbook, but tailored more to our particular community. Our city clerk, Denise, went to continuing education and has modeled this extremely off of Derby's policies and their handbook. So this is just for you to have a first draft. We have noticed that some of our staff has been able to take a more in-depth look at it since the packet was published. So we're having a continued list of some minor edits, some typos, some things like that, but nothing substantive yet. But we are keeping a list. So if you find things, please send them to us. But what we're looking for tonight is just any feedback that you might have on this document as a whole.
Fine, I'll put away my red pen.
You can send it to us. It's all right. We'd appreciate the review.
I'm sure you found the one about wards and other
Yes.
form of government.
And also recall, Rebecca alluded to it, but she and Denise have been working on this in depth for at least a year. And recall, this is something that kind of came out of a work session we all had with SGR a number of years ago, and about how we didn't have established meeting protocols, the governing body handbook, and especially with an election coming and at least one seat being vacated by Commissioner McBroom, we just wanted to be sure that we were following up on what you all had asked us to do, which is get these policies and procedures in place. And that helps not only you, but our other boards and commissions know what our expectations are, what their roles are, meeting protocol. I mean, we know those things and we practice those things, but this actually formalizes it. And so super huge thanks to Rebecca and Denise for putting all the work into this and getting it done. Most cities our size or larger have this already in place. Honestly, I was a little shocked when we went digging and we didn't have something like this already in place, so.
I was just wondering, I like it, I think it's good, I'm glad we're getting it done, and I was too kind of surprised, just being someone new. But how obligated is an elected person to follow something like this? And then what's the punishment, or is there one if somebody didn't do that? What if you do get a city commissioner in the future that
It's kind of going rogue,
whoever gets my
basically.
seat that goes rogue, right, they're not as nice as I am.
Maybe that's a Chris question, actually. I'm not
Well,
sure.
sure. I mean, I think if it's just adopted as a guiding principles, there would not necessarily be teeth or an enforcement mechanism. But there are cities that can, you could put it in ordinance form and have certain, teeth
Could the
behind
other
it. Depends.
commissioners vote to remove someone from the commission, or?
I'd want to look at that in depth.
I'm sure we've all heard of the Eric Mays of Flint, Michigan. He's kind of
It's
wild.
happened. It's happened.
Yeah, so what happens if that happens here? That's the only thing I was wondering about, because I didn't see anything in here when I read through that. And honestly, I'd probably rather add something to it, as this is a disciplinary measure, if there is someone here for,
Like maybe it would take a
abusive
majority
language
vote.
or something like that,
Maybe it would
could
take a majority vote of the
whatever
rest
that
of the city
looks like.
commission.
Yeah, I mean,
or
I'm not
something like
opposed to, I know like on a nonprofit board, right, usually officers can be removed by a vote of the governing
Right.
board of that organization.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure the hospital probably has something like that, and you're on that board, but I know we do at our churches and stuff, so I was just wondering what that,
I can
what does
sure
that look
look,
like
I
here?
can sure look
Yeah.
at that issue. My understanding on this was that it would not necessarily be binding, but more informational, and everyone's on the same page. This is how we should conduct business. But if that's not right, then we can surely.
Okay, Denise is going to comment.
Yeah, if you remember, like, when you first came on, we gave you a governing body handbook that was done by the league. So this is very much fashioned after what that is, but it doesn't encompass every city. It encompasses our city and what we do here. And that is something that doesn't have teeth in it, so to speak, and there's no disciplinary actions, because a lot of this stuff is based on state statute.
Yeah.
That's in there. So it's just how our form of government is, how, minutes go, how agendas go, how,
public speaking.
yeah. Aaron I will just say this part, we are kind of starting from scratch. So we took part of what was in the social media part and just put what was in there. But Aaron is really reviewing all that and basically starting over with that. But those are just helpful tips for you to know how to deal with the social media, or to deal with the interviews when you have those and everything, and prepare you a little bit for that.
Yeah, okay. I was just,
We can sure look into it.
And if you want to go rogue on those, then you go rogue. I mean, it is what it is.
But we can sure look into it for you, sir, and see what options might be. And this was just a first read. We did not anticipate any action from you tonight. So.
yeah.
Yeah, I
It's a
didn't
lot.
know if on Section 5 rules of the mayor, if we wanted to speak to how we traditionally do that.
That might be helpful to put in there.
Helpful.
Because we have some language like on our website, like if you look at the website about the commission and the
Totally
mayor
crib
role. And,
that and just slide it over.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a great addition.
That's
That's,
the
So
thing.
you guys have some edits that aren't in this document?
we do, yes. Yeah, and this was just a first read for you all tonight and just get your feedback. And
If you'd send out your copy with edits, then I'll review it deeper.
Sure, we can certainly do that. And if you find things that you wanted to send in that are more topic-based, please just send them forward. 'Cause I thought,
Okay.
we're looking right now, we thought we'd addressed the role of the mayor, so we want to double check that piece because that was something we thought of, so.
It may be in more than one spot, as I'm guessing.
I am
I'm
too.
guessing it's in more than one spot, yeah.
We should have a test on these local government acronyms.
Next meeting,
too.
study well, study well. We have 2 weeks.
Wait till I'm off.
Brush up. All right, well, to Ms. Rebecca and Denise's comment, this was just a first read. If you go through it at your leisure in the next couple weeks, please let us know. We do plan to bring it back to you for action at our next meeting, I believe.
That's kind of what we're planning, yeah.
If you could send those comments to both Rebecca and myself so that we can see those, we'll work on that together.
Thank you for the good work. All right, item number 6, we're going to review the code of meeting procedures. Rebecca.
All right, so this is the same kind of a companion document. This goes back to the concept that the governing body has never adopted any sort of set rules and procedures of running a meeting. Kind of loosely operate on Robert's Rules of Order, but there's not an actual official meeting procedure. And again, as people continue to change their positions or their roles or an election happens, this allows who's ever sitting at the bench to know and that the process is. And like Kelly mentioned, it also allows the other commissions and boards to know what kind of the expectations of running a meeting look like. So that's, again, before you. We have had just minor edits of non-substance, but again, still proofreading it, so draft form.
And again, this was just a first read for y'all tonight, so if you want to go through it in more depth, then let Denise and Rebecca know if you have edits or comments, and we'd appreciate it because we want it to be as bulletproof as possible. And again, this will also come back to you at your next meeting.
If that one has current live edits, please send out the most recent.
Will do, thank you.
You betcha.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to item 7. We're going to approve plans and specification for the 2023 CCLIP K-15 mill and overlay subject to KDOT approval. Suzanne.
Yes, Commissioners, at your last meeting, we rejected bids because the bids all came in. Well, we had one bidder, they were over the estimate significantly. And so we are changing to, as we had discussed at that meeting, the plans will have the base bid be K-15 reconstruction from, well, it's a mill and overlay with full depth patching from the BNSF Railroad tracks to 11th Street. And then there would be an alternate that would be from 13th to the northern boundary limit. We already did the 12th Street work, so the project, the only thing that's changing is what's the base bid, what would be an alternate, and the state is reviewing all of this. And once I get that approved, I would like to go ahead and put it out to bid. We also changed the date that this would be done. It wouldn't be done until 2024 unless some contractor all of a sudden has a hole in their schedule and they decide to bid it. But this is one of those types of projects where we will bid a late start date and give them a late start date of later in the late spring, early summer of 2024, because contractors are building into that calendar now. So we would ask you to approve the plan subject to KDOT approval, and then I will set the bid date once we know that the state has approved the plans. They have agreed in concept already.
You need that as 2 separate ones or just one?
Just one.
I move that we can approve the updated plans and specs and approve the bid date as proposed. Approve staff signing any update state agreements due to these changes.
I second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Item 8, we're going to receive bids and award contract for the Southeast 4th Street Box Culvert and Street Improvements. Suzanne.
Yes, Commissioners, on August 1st, we had a bid letting for the Southeast 4th and Slate Creek reinforced concrete box. Remember, this is a new box. The old one comes out, new one goes in, paving occurs, and a water line goes in. We had 2 bids. The low bidder was Votes Parga Construction from here in Newton, Kansas. And they were under the estimate, so we would recommend that you award bids to Votes Parga for the $542,231.70.
That
Am
was
I reading-
surprising how
Yeah.
well under that was.
Am I reading it?
Yeah,
You're okay with it?
You're okay?
yeah, we're good with
I
this.
mean, I love it, but I want to make sure that we're going to get
Yes,
a street back there.
yes, we will.
I mean, it is way under, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, the bidding climate is very strange, but we, after the last bid, then we altered how we were going to handle timing when people could come in and do construction. So this will be a little bit removed from what we had originally intended for timing. It'll be built in 2 phases, and we would expect that the RCB work would begin in November, December timeframe. And then we'll probably have some time for winter, and then the street and the water line will go in under the box, but the rest of the water line would happen after the street's torn out. So
It's going to take some time, but it saved us a lot of
it's
money.
a process. It won't be longer, it's just we allowed the window of time for construction to be a little bit more flexible.
I'd move we award the bid to Volkswagen, the low bidder.
I second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a surprising number.
In a good way. In a
In
good
a
way.
good
For the
way.
benefit
I
of the
know.
audience
Well,
who might
when
not be
the-
watching, in a good way. This was an excellent
When the
bid.
engineer's estimate is almost double, it's like, goodness
This is
gracious.
an
That
excellent
doesn't
bid.
always happen.
In spades. we
Just
call that
means over
sandbagging.
time, we have more projects we can do with that money we thought we were
It
gonna
does,
spend, right?
and it means that they probably had a hole in their schedule, and they now have filled it, and we like that for our local company.
Yep.
Yeah.
And obviously, they've been in business many years, and they know what they're doing. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, we do not have anybody signed up for Citizens Forum. So I guess the forum rests on starting with Rich's shoulders.
Oh, I've spoke more than enough tonight, but thanks to staff and fellow commissioners for some lively discussions during our work session and for everything that you guys do.
Yeah, I got a call last week from Commissioner Cry, and he needed a golf partner for the men's league, so he must have
Oh,
been
it's
desperate.
really hard up.
Yeah. Literally, it's what my wife said when I told her I was going to go golf last Wednesday night. She goes, wow, he must have really needed someone. But we golfed with 2 other guys that were not from the city, and it was fun one was from Douglas and one was from Augusta. And they were a ways away, and it was fun just to toot around 9 holes with them and golf and talk to them. And we never told them we were commissioners, but for me, there was a little bit of pride that they were here golfing at Sand Creek, and just a fun
did.
evening.
We did beat them.
We did beat them by 2 strokes. So
They were really bad.
that was it. It was just, it felt cool to be with them, and they had no idea, but it was fun just to be there with them. And I mean, it's a nice course. They just complimented a couple times. It was fun. So that's it.
No, sir.
I have one quick item. A few months back, you received a petition for de-annexation from the Smets. Prior to publishing, we needed a good legal description. Now we've been afforded that. The state statute provides that either the Planning Commission or the City Commission can have that hearing. I think it was staff's recommendation then, or I thought we talked about it going in front of the City Commission. There's now been a question of Planning Commission or City Commission. I just want to confirm with you guys that you want to hear that, as opposed to a 2-layer public hearing is in front of the Planning Commission, then it comes to the City Commission. If there's any discussion on that, our staff recommendation, my recommendation would just be for the City Commission to hear that matter. But if there's any discussion on that, the notice in the paper has to say, obviously the date and who's hearing it. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Seems like the simplest and cleanest approach is just to come in front of us.
We will notice it up that way. Thank you.
Streamline.
That's all I have.
No, sir.
Well, I would agree with Rich. We had some good and lively discussion in the workshop, so thank you for your patience and understanding. I know part of that, that commission handbook, I saw it under leadership, and it said, be sure you take a stand. So I hope the stand that I took wasn't too forceful, but we appreciate all that you do, very, very much, all of you, so Hope you know that. In the end, we appreciate all that you do for us.
I'm on a committee that's working on organizing, and Leroy's also on this committee, the USGA golf event, the Adaptive Open, which is really a big deal. Zach's also working on that committee, as is Kelly. And I don't think it's been real public yet, but one thing I do want to throw out there is we're going to need around 400 volunteers. So it's the second weekend in July? Yes. Is that right?
They get here the 5th, and I think it starts like the 7th, 8th, and 9th,
Yeah.
something like that.
The actual dates of the tournament are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yep.
8th,
They
9th,
have
and, okay.
practice rounds and banquets and stuff like that weekend leading up to it.
Yep,
So I want to urge people to look at their calendars and when we start doing sign-ups to get your name out there, because we're going to showcase our community to the whole United States. And the USGA, they're the biggie of the whole thing. They do the U.S. Open for professional golfers, which is a worldwide event. And this is actually a worldwide event there's several different categories. There'll be people there that only have one leg. There'll be people there that are paralyzed from the waist down. There will be blind golfers there. All of them will be assisted by people in their circle. So it's going to be really a cool event, and I'm really excited to be a part of that.
Do you have a list yet, or is it still too early as far as all of the areas for volunteers?
They're putting that together.
It'll be put together, and those volunteers will actually be registered through Sand Creek Station specifically. We've got Sand Creek Station, I say we, but the golf course has a software called Golf Genius that we'll be utilizing, and it will also, you can sign up, you'll be able to do it electronically. You can call the city, we can take your name down, get you put in, but as we get a little bit closer to the date, to Commissioner's point, we'll have that available, but we are going to need a lot of volunteers.
And you don't have to know anything about
You don't have to know anything about golf. So, I mean, you could just sit at the sign-in table and help people sign in, or help them get to their cart, or, be serving food when they come in for breakfast or lunch, or those kinds of things. So there's a multitude of opportunities that will be available.
Okay, so you'll make that available to many people?
Yes, ma'am.
in the
We will
community
be
who
pushing
are
it out there.
volunteer?
It'll be
Okay.
very public.
We'll be pushing it out there soon.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that it's also going to be a wonderful opportunity to get some other cultural exposures from other countries but people that have these challenges, if you will, physical challenges, how they are determined to fight through those. And I love these stories. We all have crosses, I get that, but man, some people have bigger crosses, it seems like, and they fight through them, and they do something like this, that nothing is going to stop them, and that's really inspirational for me to watch that in action. So I think it's going to be and the changes that are going to go on temporarily out there at Sand Creek, the USGA is going to come in and make add some temporary buildings and a bunch of just a bunch of changes that are going to be really cool to enable all of these people to get around and be in their wheelchairs or whatever kind of apparatuses they have to have. So it's going to be a neat deal.
May I add a comment to that?
Sure.
When you talk about the folks that will be coming to golf and the challenges, and how they work through those, I think that those of us who volunteer and help are going to be a changed people. I know when I took a mission trip once to Russia, you go with the mission to help people. You're the one that comes back much of a changed person. You didn't anticipate what you saw and did, and I've been thinking about that with regard to this golf tournament, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, very much so.
Once in a lifetime opportunity for
Yes.
all of us.
Yes,
It is.
absolutely.
Well, I have nothing more. With that, we are